Further action on the allocation of the balance?
Well, I have an additional item. Since we have these funds, the 600,000 that are restricted, they cannot be used any other way.
Right.
You know? So cannot we make a motion that those funds will be used to pay whatever mortgage?
We don't have to do that tonight.
Right. No, that's not the subject we're on, okay? We're talking about the Pegasus Fund, whether we can allocate it. And now we're coming up with, that Gloria is suggesting that the $300,000 should be done immediately. And basically my understanding is that's where the 300 was coming from. That's what I heard and understood. Frances is not sure about that, but it sounds maybe that she's willing to consider
I'm
that.
not opposed to it.
Not opposed to it. Okay, fine. Are you opposed to that, Paul?
No, there's no other place to get the 300.
You're not opposed to it. Are you opposed to it?
No.
No. What about you, Ann? No. All right, so it sounds like we have $300,000
So we have a motion.
allocated.
We have to have a motion.
Yeah, okay, well, okay.
So Gloria, your motion is to transfer the sum of $300,000 from the Pegasus settlement into operating funds as soon as possible.
Immediately, yes.
Would you like to second that?
I second.
Okay, we're going to have Linda second that. Okay. Is there anybody opposed to that? Okay, there's $300,000 that is now gone. All right, now,
May I ask for an amendment to the motion? I'm so sorry.
Gloria, do you mind if the motion is amended to read, to transfer the sum of $300,000 from the Pegasus settlement into the operating fund as soon as possible, and to defer discussion of disposition of the balance of the Pegasus funds?
No, I don't think it's necessary. We're just taking care of the 300, that leaves the 6. Why do we have to defer it? It's just not on the table.
all right, we're doing it one at a time,
Okay.
Francis, okay? So, do we have any objection to that? No objection. All right, now we're talking about the balance, which is $640,000, all right? My position on that matter, and I hear what Paul says, and I have a great deal of respect for Paul's position, but to me, from the discussions that we've had, and the recorded discussions that we've had, it seems because of the mismatch, the current mismatch with the amortization schedule that we originally signed on for a 10-year deal, an 11.5-year deal, versus where we are now because of the interest-only payments. I think it's important that we try to pay down what we can to the line of credit to try to match up the time frame. Otherwise, at the end of the income stream, which is going to be 9.5 years from now, we're going to still have a debt, and that's going to necessitate an assessment.
How much money are you talking about?
400,000, we're talking about right now, 400,000.
The dollars and cents benefit of paying down $1 million on that note now. What is the financial
You're going to save, I think, right, the first time we met, there was a 7.23% interest. So 7.23 on $1 million is significant money. Okay, now I think because of interest rates coming down,
That is crazy.
that's just, yeah. All right, well, Kurt, we know you're here and we're interested in your input, but we're not accountants and everything. We try to our best. I can give you numbers and you can do them. I think, pardon me, your thing, excuse me, Francis, this stops. The thing stops in case you want to turn it over.
Judge,
Yes, Arthur.
not to confuse audience or even the board. The $400,000 we talk about is money which was paid by unit owners prepayment of their assessment.
That's the
We
600.
know.
That's the 600. That's the 600.
That's
We're not talking about that. I agree.
We're not
That needs to
talking about
be.
that.
Belongs to the
We're not
bank.
talking
We're
about
talking
that.
about that.
We're talking about the additional money.
We're talking about Pegasus. We're talking about Pegasus money.
Ordered. The Pegasus went to operate.
No. 300 of the Pegasus went to operating. Relax, Arthur. We're with you. We're with
Let's
you.
talk
Relax.
about the remaining
Okay,
400.
we're talking about 940,000 from Pegasus settlement. 300 is going to operating. 640 is left. We're talking about whether we want to allocate any of the 640. Some people here are saying, do not allocate, just wait until we know what the lawyers have decided for us.
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, I'm sorry. To say it again.
I said we should wait until after this pending meeting with the lawyers and Wachovia, so we know what we're talking about.
Okay.
I have to agree with that.
Good.
Because Wachovia, we have not seen the latest swap arrangement, how much money we have to pay by the month. They might want $50,000 to $60,000 a month for interest and principal. Therefore, we can wait another 2, 3, 4 weeks till we know which way we're going.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you.
That's one way of looking at it. Okay, the other way that I look at it is the more you pay down, the less interest you're paying. Okay, so look, I think both are valid.
I've been saying all along,
Right.
and I'm still feeling the same way.
You feel both ways.
We never had a line of credit of 7 million. We only had a line of credit of 5, and we don't owe that much.
Right.
I'd like to see better accounting. We probably owe them 4 million or less right now.
Arthur, we owe them what we owe them.
Right.
Okay? And that's not, we don't have to decide that now. We owe them what we owe them.
We don't
Okay?
have to
Right.
decide about the $1 million right now either. We can wait until the end of the week.
Well, we've really already decided about the 600,000 because that's restricted funds.
Is not
So
on
it's
the
not,
table.
right, so it's not,
We
well, you
don't
said the $1
discuss
million. You said million. I'm not talking about million, I'm only talking about 400.
400, it would be.
So we're only talking about
And
400.
I am simply saying that we do not have to discuss this tonight.
We don't have to.
Right.
Okay, that doesn't mean that we're not going to. We don't have to, all righty? So
Mr.
that's,
Chairman, I
yes.
really think that you're rushing things for no reason at all. How can you make a decision when you may have 3 or 4
I make a
other
motion to table
appointments?
any further discussion of the disposition of the balance of the Wachovia
How
funds
can you discuss it when you don't know what the
Until-
other guys are going to say?
until
How can-
after our conference with the attorneys and with Wachovia.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, shall we have a vote?
If you don't have, yeah, it's tabled.
Oh, just seconded it?
Oh, I'm so sorry, yes.
I thought you needed a vote.
Vote on the table? Yes, yes, we did, you're right. Okay.
Okay.
Diddy Koff,
Yes.
Francis Mesro, yes. Gloria Gershkoff,
No.
Ann Rosenson,
Yes.
Jerry Merrill.
No.
Motion is passed by a vote of 3 to 2.
Okay, moving on.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
The total amount that we received from Pegasus,
Yes.
does that include the $984,000 check that we were holding, plus the $925,000 that you just got?
I'm not aware of the 2 checks. I'm not
There was no
aware of
money in
2 checks.
escrow anymore. That was,
There was no money in
That was
escrow,
released.
we spent
Yeah.
that.
that they spent it.
Yeah, we only got 1 check from them,
We just got the $925,000. We
939.
have been holding
800.
a check for $984,000
Phoebe,
that they never got.
Phoebe, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is we borrowed money from, we got a line of credit, okay? In that line of credit, because of a lien by Pegasus we had on our property, we had to hold back from that line of credit. That's not considered a check to us. We had the line of credit, okay? In the line of credit, we weren't allowed to use that money. We weren't being charged, I understand, for that money, but it was being held in abeyance due to the lien, okay? So we never received any check. At some point in time, and it's a mystery to me, at some point in time, that money was freed up even though the lien was not released. I don't understand that. And I was told, I understood that I was told at the meeting, Pegasus decided they didn't need it. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't understand why that money was released, but it was released. And I think that's what you're referring to. And that's not a check to us. That was just a line of credit that we weren't able to use at one point to protect the lien holder. And then at some point in time, we were allowed to use it. All we received is 1 check as a result of the
I
settlement.
understand that we
only received one check. But I'm just saying, does that include the 984 plus?
I don't know what the 984
The
is.
settlement from them is 925.
939, I think. 939 and change. Okay, that was the settlement.
Did we get the interest from the time they had it in their account?
I didn't see any breakdown. I only saw the total amount of the check. That's all that was sent to us. We haven't even gotten back our files from Leiby Stearns. Okay, so all we got was a check, and we're supposed to be grateful for that. Okay, let's see. The agenda item, that is allocation of funds. So we allocated 300,000, and the rest of it is just up in the air. Right, to be determined. Okay, next item is the tea and coffee shop proposal. I don't know if everybody is aware, but our owners, Christine and Clyde Bates, have proposed to take the cafe and turn it into a can I say English tea shop? Is that proper? Okay, and so we're trying to move that along, okay? They have presented certain things to the board, and we are trying to get a draft lease together for them. And Howard has been working on it and speaking with them, and Howard sent us an email detailing, giving us details of what would be in the lease. And we wanted to discuss that to see if we have any agreement on this so that we can move a little more forward. So does everybody have the information that Howard sent?
They voted on it.
They voted on what?
Did you vote?
No, we haven't.
Vote to give them the...
We haven't. We're trying to, we want to vote on something that's a total package, so they know what they're getting and we know what we're getting. Okay? So basically, we're talking about a term, okay? One possibility, 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. I think that's as far as we would go out. We're talking about rent, and we're talking about some upfront free rent because they're going to be putting capital improvements into the property. We're talking about some free rent and possibly some free utilities. We're talking about the improvements, and the tenant is going to do the improvements at their expense. We're talking about the maintenance, repair, and replacement, and you know we're looking to the tenant for that. Tenant providing insurance is required by the association and statute, and the tenant providing permits and licenses required by the city and state ordinance, and the tenant to be able to share parking spaces with the beauty salon, and what we are going to do with the existing machines that are in the cafe. We're talking about the cafe. I should have mentioned that. Pardon?
That's not a good thing, what to do.
All right, well, but we're talking about it, okay? And then we want to make the lease subject to attorney review of our documents regarding the proper use of the common elements. Does anyone want to talk about any of the items? Or does anybody have any additional items that need to be added?
I sent a reply to Howard. It's not included in the notes.
I saw it, but I remember you said 2 and 2, I think. Was that the one that you're referring to? Yeah. Well, tell us what it was.
Unfortunately, I didn't bring it from the office. I thought I did.
As I recall, you recommended 2 and 2, rather...
A two-year lease with an option to
Two-year
renew for
option.
2.
Yeah.
And to have a review of the rental at the end of the 2-year period. Not necessarily to increase it, but just that at that time there should be a review of the...
Well, does the second year, does the first option have an increase? You say 2 and 2. Normally when you talk about options, you talk about a cost of living,
But the language is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the concept of the proposal.
but it's...
And mine would be a lease for 2 years with an option to renew for 2 years under certain terms and conditions, whatever those might be, at least be considered fair.
Right, so 4, you're talking about 4 years at the tenant's control. It's 2 and 2, meaning it's strictly tenant's control.
Yes, they
Okay.
absolutely
They
have
have
the
the
option
option,
for the
right.
2-year.
Right, that's, options are good for the tenant, primarily good for the tenant.
And also, I had suggested that the first 6 months be rent-free.
Right.
But there should be a payment of some sort for utilities.
During the first 6 months?
Yes.
Okay. And then afterwards?
I think those are the two main, these are the two main suggestions.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Paul?
Yeah, I got some questions. We have to decide whether or not we want them to succeed or not, and whether it's a benefit to the community or not. And I think we should extend them somehow. I don't think 6 months free rent is enough. I think we should give a little bit.
Can't hear you. Can't
I think we should also give them utilities in the beginning also. It's tough to get started.
All right, so you think more. You think, what exactly do you think? She says 6 months free rent plus, but
I
including,
think give them a year.
give them a year both in rent and utilities? You do. Okay, discussion? Anybody else? What do you think, Gloria?
I agree.
And?
That would be an asset.
Okay. Linda?
It would be a wonderful thing.
What do you think?
I just have one question for Clive, Christine.
We're gonna pay the utilities?
Excuse me, Phoebe, right now we're having a discussion here, okay? When we're done, we'll be glad to listen to you, okay? And we have to then decide, all righty? Thank you.
Clive, Christine, do you have any idea in terms of time? I know you have to go after licenses, you've already researched, you know, all of those things that you have to do. How much time it'll, how you envision it, or how much time to actually do the changes you want to do before you would open?
Excuse me, Linda, would you mind, the two of you, coming and joining us? We're talking about you, okay? So we'd like to have you right up here. Here's a couple seats over here, okay? Let's see, how can we do this? Paul, can you move over there, Paul, so we can put the two of them over there?
Yeah, I'm taking my name.
Take your name, please. We don't want your debts. Leave your name and get your debts. Okay.
So, and my question is, like, you know, as you see it in terms of time, you know, the time to get the licenses, how much time to do the physical changes that you want to do before you would be actually opening? How many months time do you see?
I would say at least 3 months, but it's not a good idea to go ahead with anything until the board has decided.
Well,
We need a contract signed, and then we'll go ahead with the license, the permits, and also the insurance. And then we can start and decorate if the board agrees to that, that would be great. And then, of course, it's up to the city.
so as soon as you receive your permits. So you see, in other words, you see the preparation period to take place while licenses and all of that are happening, so that.
Linda, excuse me. I'm just wondering, you know,
I'm trying to figure
I understand, I hear you,
But my reason for asking is I know that it is, you know, they're going to be investing a lot, and I'm trying to figure out how much time before they're at a place where they can.
yeah, but the free rent and utilities begin immediately. You know, it doesn't begin, in my mind, it doesn't begin after they're set up. It's not when the business opens. The free, is that your understanding, or is that not your understanding?
Free rent will begin when we don't have use of the facility.
Right, well, that's going to be immediately. Once we turn the keys over to them, we can't give them.
Once they would get in there and start.
Right, once we give them the keys, I mean, they can delay that,
And
but
they
once
sign
we
a
give,
contract with us, but still we could be using the place.
once they get the keys, we can't be using
Once
it.
we don't have it.
That's why they need the year.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
We need a year, and usually what it is, it's from day of opening. That's the business.
That's not my understanding.
The day you take possession.
Yeah, possession has nothing to, construction and all that is on you. That's why we're moving it to a year. And you want to get your stuff lined up as quickly as possible. I've never heard of the other option, okay? It's whatever you can negotiate, I understand that.
Yeah, Christine, how do you feel about the fact that you'll be opening pretty pretty much when the snowbirds are leaving. Do you still feel confident?
Yeah, I do, Francis. Working out in the garden, especially on that garden house median, I meet so many people. People stop and chat. I tell them about the tea shop. They think it's fabulous. And these are young people going to work. And I think it will be great, Francis. Yeah, I do. Even, I would say, full occupancy, we have about 1,600 people. And out of season, there's about 900. So we still have a lot of people here.
Just having a place to get convenience items is a tremendous feat.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It is, Francis. And people are quite excited. And our intention is to have a meeting place where people can sit down and chat and chew at the same time. So they can have a drink and they can have a sandwich and get to know each other. There are a lot of people here that are lonely. And they don't come out of their apartment very often unless it's to catch a bus. And it's a very good thing. And we are going to offer delivery too. So it's going to be very beneficial to International Village. And not only that, it's going to be lovely as well.
Paul?
If I could ask, can we agree on the concept tonight and on details? Because the details is something I think we really have to sit down together and hash out. Rather than try.
Yeah, because they're going to have the contract drawn up anyway.
Exactly, as far as how much for rent, how much for utilities, I have my ideas, you have your ideas. I think we have to sit down with them and hash this out. Agree on the concept tonight, that we agree that we might go that forward, and then sit down another time and make some appointment where we can sit down and hash out details, and then present it one more time that it's all agreed.
In other words, to vote to accept
The concept tonight.
accept the proposal
And then we can sit down and agree on the details of it, and then re-sit down and say, here's what we accepted it this way.
We're actually very close right now.
I was wondering if we sit down with the International Village
That's correct.
and make sure that everything is proper.
The attorney cost would be for you. We would not pay for the attorney fees.
That's what I say, we have to sit down on these details. Right now, we can agree with the concept, and then we can talk about details.
We need
the concept.
We agree on the concept, there's no question about that.
Yeah,
What we need from Clive and Christine is a contract for us to okay, so that they can get started on their work. But you've got to bring the contract to us.
Well,
What we have, we've already provided a proposal, and it needs to be fine-tuned.
Paul, my understanding is the concept has been out there for a while, and, you know, my impression was we were going to talk while we have a board meeting about the details. If we walk away from that now, all we're doing is delaying the happening, and as Francis correctly points out, the season is moving along. I don't think that's a big deal because it's a yearly contract, so there's 12 months in every year, no matter when it begins. And actually starting out something new at the slow time is better than starting it out at the busy time, because you can work out a lot of the kinks. So getting it started in March or April is not a bad thing, because by the time the season comes around, they'll be well honed. But I mean, we need, pardon? That was my purpose.
I'm not capable of working out something like that.
Not to a certain point.
I'm an attorney.
No, we're not, no, but the attorney is not making any decisions. The attorney is just reviewing what we decide to tell us if there's something that we're not doing right. We have to determine the term. We have to determine the amount. We have to determine what they're going to be responsible for. We have to do all that. We don't need the attorney to tell us that. The attorney has to read it and tell us if we've done something wrong. I agree with you. But they don't need to make the agreement. We can make the agreement.
Oh, then you just pause for a moment, sir.
Well, when I finish, I pause. not in the middle. I finish when I pause. I pause when I finish. I'm finished. Please have the floor.
Everybody here is in favor of the idea. We had asked for a plan to be presented, a business plan. And we haven't seen it.
Right.
No, we have not, what? It was a summary of what they wanted to do, and I appreciate that it sounds very good. It's not a business plan. We need a contract for the board to consider, a legal contract. It doesn't have to have all of the items in it that will eventually be agreed upon, but it has to be something concrete that the board can look at and say, yes, we can live with this, we'll sign it, it'll be subject to leases and this sort of thing, but go ahead and
We
get
have
started.
a work letter and
Whatever.
That's
Well,
what it
if you were going to hire a contractor or something like that, what would you want at least?
it's a lease and a work letter.
Whatever.
This is calling a tenant build out.
Yes.
Okay, I don't hear you, Paul.
Yes.
Paul, would you use the mic and repeat what you said, please?
A work letter and a lease. It's what they're doing is calling a tenant build out.
Mhm.
It is a reuse of the,
That's fine.
it is a
Could you
reuse.
use the mic, please, Christine? Thank you.
This is a reuse of the deli. When we came here 28 years ago, it was a fabulous deli right there. People used to queue and line up way past the clubhouse to buy sandwiches. That's our intent, to bring that back. And now we are 45% Latinos, Hispanic. And we have spoken with a lot of them. They're very excited. And it's a great thing. And I think tonight what you have to do, you have to decide whether you want a tea shop or whether you don't. And then you go to the next step where we have a contract. And that's pretty much, that's pretty much it.
It's simple, and the term, you've already named the rent that you're willing to pay, the terms are there. And we would have to decide on the amount of time of free,
Right, well, that's what,
setup.
right. Can we go down this list here?
We go down the list.
Can we go down this list and get a consensus of what we want? And then that's what the contract that Francis is talking about will be used to put together. Okay? Otherwise, we just,
Otherwise, we just keep.
Right. Okay, so I think we need to get to the details.
It's the basis of the contract.
Right, exactly. And then, of course, a lot of stuff is just form, and that gets filled in the form, the lease form. These are just the things that are fill-ins. So I'd like to propose going through these items, term, rent, improvements, and all that, and decide if we can, and what's nice is we have the both parties together, and we know one another, and we can get an agreement here, more or less, and then it just has to be formalized in writing. Mark, say it, Mark.
Well, I agree with Francis. At the last meeting, when this first came up, the stipulation was made, and I think voted on, that a business plan should be submitted to the board.
But they did that. They did that.
Not according to Francis.
Well, I understand that, but I understand according to Christine, they put a business plan together, okay? What they consider a business
Has
plan.
the board received it?
Yes, we received it. Now, Francis, I can't
That's all,
speak for
that's
her.
all I have to say.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you. Your input is always well regarded, even though you're not taking care of that camera. Did you turn the?
I'm taking care of the camera.
That's all right.
It's functioning as we speak.
Oh, okay.
I did not consider that it was a business plan.
Yeah.
It was a very nice, detailed proposal of what they plan to do.
That's up to the board to decide,
Right.
Francis.
I consider it a business plan. I look at what General Motors has done and what Chrysler has done in their elaborate business plans, and I don't think that what they're proposing to do takes much, especially when we know them and we know of their talents. So I think that suffices for me for the business plan. What about you, Gloria? Does that suffice for you? What about you, Ann? What about you, Linda? And what about you? Okay? So, for the most part, we agree that we passed the business plan stage. Now we're trying to get to the details, and we have two propositions here. We have, well, maybe more than two. Francis is proposing a 2-year term with a 2-year option. And that's good for you because, you know, the option is strictly your option, not our option. The other is a yearly basis, either 1, 2, or 3 years. We're, I think, pretty flexible. What's your position on the matter, on the term? 2-2. Okay, Francis is right. Okay, and that's smart, I believe. The rent we're talking about. Francis has suggested 6 months free rent, but utilities to be paid, and Paul has suggested that it should be free rent and utilities for a full year.
I agree.
So I know what you want. Okay, so we're not going to ask you. So let's go through that. Gloria, what do you think?
Who maintains the room now? Who pays for everything?
We do. The association does. So it's not that we're paying any more. There may be some more equipment that they have that's going to cost us a little bit more, but the opposite end of that is we're going to look. You don't know that. Okay, I just got a $3,000 water bill for a property. You don't know what happens. Okay, let's just stick with the subject. Do you want which way do you want? Free rent for a year with free utilities?
Yes, I do.
Ann, what do you think?
I think so.
You like it? Linda, what do you think?
I think so too.
Okay. I won't ask you. Francis, you're still with your, would you agree with that?
I don't mind the year's rent, but I think that there should be some contribution towards the utilities.
The only thing,
The electric will increase.
The electric and the water will increase considerably.
Let them pay.
And it doesn't even have to be a metered sort of thing, because we don't have a meter, but just some contribution toward the utilities, I think, is reasonable.
I'm thinking an idea. How about if you pay whatever the addition is from the prior year? Okay? Then you can even conserve. And if you, maybe because it's very likely that we're wasting things, okay, you're not going to waste anything. So if we agree that whatever the first year, the year you come in, whatever that was last year, will match up the bill, and if there's an overage, you'll pay the overage. Is that fair?
I think that's good, but I also think that you need to keep in mind that we are going to be paying for everything in the second home. So
Right.
if you could for 1 year have free utilities, it would be very beneficial to
Right.
us. On the second year,
We're giving you
to
free
do that
utilities.
for the utilities, then we expect it. Absolutely.
Well, did you hear, my suggestion is we give you free utilities except for any overage in last year's, okay? So basically, you may even be saving, not that we'll give you a reimbursement if you save, okay? The first year. The first year, free. Well, that's what you said. That's what you agreed to, okay? But Francis brings a good point up, okay? If it turns out to be a lot more usage, which she's saying it's going to be a lot more usage, it's fair to charge them for the additional usage, okay? Yeah, right, that may mean that. That may mean that. So I think that makes sense. Is there any objection to that?
Well, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense.
Well, how is that?
How are they benefiting?
How they're getting free utilities. They're only paying for the overage. In other words, the lights and the air conditioning and all, which is the base.
I was suggesting just give free utilities.
I understand. I understand. Well, we're trying to incorporate Francis's thought. She thinks that
I think we should give them an assist the first year.
well, we are by giving them free utilities. All we're asking them is pay as the overage.
Jerry, maybe I'm not understanding you. But from day one, the day they sign, they start to improve the property.
Right.
From that day on, you're saying whatever the overage is, they should pay?
The overage. In other words,
That's too soon.
too soon.
I think so.
Okay. Are you interested in considering the overage at any time after 6 months, or you want to go for a year?
Wait, I prefer the year.
All right, well, that's fine.
Opposition to it, I would say 6 to 9
right.
Not from day one.
Okay, so you're voting